Conservatism. To begin, conservatism, as the name suggests, aims to preserve and uphold traditional values within Western culture. It places significant importance on the nuclear family, organized religion, the military, and the protection of private property rights. Conservatives generally seek to maintain social structures and institutions that have historically been seen as stabilizing forces, advocating for gradual change rather than radical transformation. Liberalism. In contrast, liberalism is often regarded as the dominant political ideology in modern history. It prioritizes individual rights and freedoms, emphasizing that governments should derive their legitimacy from the consent of the governed. A core principle is that all citizens should be treated equally before the law. Liberalism also supports free markets, multi-party elections, a separation of powers within government, and a clear distinction between religion and the state. In addition, it advocates for constitutional safeguards to protect fundamental rights such as privacy, freedom of speech, the press, assembly, and religion. Moderatism. Moderatism seeks to operate within the so-called Overton Window, which refers to the range of policies considered acceptable to the mainstream public at any given time. Moderates typically avoid extreme political positions, striving for a balance between progressive and conservative views. Many moderates are perceived as apolitical, in the sense that they possess a basic understanding of political matters but are not deeply invested in them. Capitalism. Capitalism is an economic system that revolves around the private ownership of the means of production and their operation for profit. Its central tenets include private property, free markets, competition, the division of labor, and voluntary cooperation among individuals. Capitalism's emphasis on profit and innovation has driven significant technological and social advancements, but it also raises questions about inequality and social justice. Socialism. Socialism, in its classical form, advocates for the collective ownership of the means of production, with a strong emphasis on workers' control and workplace democracy. Modern socialism supports policies such as high taxation on the wealthy and the nationalization of key industries to promote economic equality. Socialism's key value is social ownership, which means that the benefits of economic activity should be distributed more equitably among all members of society. Syndicalism. Syndicalism is a branch of socialism that emphasizes the importance of labor unions in bringing about a socialist society. It believes that unions, or syndicates, should be the primary means of organizing society, with direct action, including strikes, as the main method of advancing workers' interests. Once capitalism is abolished, syndicalists propose that a Congress of syndicates would manage the economy in a decentralized manner. Corporatism. Corporatism advocates for the organization of society into various sectors based on occupation, such as agriculture, engineering, or the military. In this model, representatives of workers, employers, and the state would work together to regulate the economy in a way that serves the interests of all parties involved. It is important to note that corporatism differs from corporatocracy, which refers to domination by large business interests. Libertarianism. Libertarianism champions individual liberty and seeks to minimize the role of government in society. It shares many principles with liberalism, including a strong belief in personal freedoms and equality before the law. However, libertarians advocate for a much more limited government, with a particular focus on protecting property rights and personal autonomy. Separatism. Separatism, or secessionism, refers to the desire to create a new nation or government that is separate from an existing political entity. Separatist movements often arise when groups feel that their cultural, ethnic, or political identities are not adequately represented or respected within the larger state. Communism. Communism is a political and economic ideology that advocates for the common ownership of the means of production, distribution, and exchange. In a communist society, goods are distributed based on need, rather than wealth or social class. Private property, social classes, money, and the state itself are eliminated, as the ultimate goal is to create a stateless, classless society. Feminism. Feminism seeks to establish and defend the political, economic, and social equality of the sexes. It argues that societies have historically prioritized male perspectives and that women have been unjustly marginalized. Feminism challenges gender stereotypes and advocates for equal opportunities in education, employment, and all areas of public life. Anarchism. Anarchism is a political ideology that opposes all forms of hierarchical authority, including the state. It advocates for a stateless society based on voluntary cooperation and free associations among individuals. Anarchists believe that true freedom can only be achieved when individuals are free from coercive institutions such as governments. Environmentalism. Environmentalism, or green politics, emphasizes the importance of preserving the natural environment in public policy decisions. It promotes sustainability, conservation, and efforts to combat pollution, climate change, and environmental degradation. Key issues for environmentalists include reducing carbon emissions, protecting biodiversity, and promoting renewable energy. Populism. Populism is a political approach that seeks to appeal to the general population, often by contrasting the interests of the people with those of a perceived elite. It can take on various forms across the political spectrum, but is united by its emphasis on popular sovereignty and its opposition to established political norms and institutions. Republicanism. Republicanism is a political ideology that advocates for a form of government in which power resides with the people rather than a hereditary monarchy. It emphasizes the importance of civic participation, the rule of law, and the protection of individual rights within a republic. Progressivism. Progressivism seeks to challenge traditional values and institutions in the pursuit of social progress. It is fundamentally opposed to conservatism, as it holds that the past should not dictate the future. Progressives advocate for reforms that promote equality, social justice, and technological innovation. Imperialism. Imperialism refers to the practice of expanding a nation's influence or control over other countries through military or diplomatic means. Historically, imperialist powers justified their expansion by claiming to bring civilization and development to less advanced regions, though this often masked exploitation and oppression. Egalitarianism. Egalitarianism is a philosophy that emphasizes the importance of equality among all people. It holds that all individuals should be accorded the same rights and opportunities, particularly in terms of political and legal treatment. Egalitarianism is often associated with efforts to reduce economic and social inequalities. Transhumanism. Transhumanism is a futuristic philosophy that advocates for the use of technology to enhance human capabilities, ultimately aiming for immortality and the development of advanced intellectual and physical abilities. Transhumanists believe that overcoming human limitations through science and technology will lead to a new phase in human evolution. Communitarianism. Communitarianism emphasizes the importance of community and collective well-being over individualism. It argues that political ideologies from both the left and right offer valuable insights but are often limited by their focus on individual rights at the expense of the common good. Authoritarianism. Authoritarianism is a political system characterized by centralized control and limited political freedoms. In an authoritarian state, power is concentrated in the hands of a ruler or ruling party, and opposition is often suppressed. This form of governance typically limits civil liberties and demands obedience from its citizens. Fascism. Fascism is a far-right political ideology that advocates for strong, centralized control, often under the leadership of a dictator. It rejects democracy and embraces nationalism and militarism, believing that a nation's strength comes from unity and obedience. Fascism promotes a hierarchical society and seeks to suppress opposition through force. Nazism. Nazism, a form of fascism, is distinguished by its emphasis on racial superiority, particularly the belief in the dominance of the Aryan race. It is marked by extreme nationalism, militarism, and the rejection of individual rights in favor of the supposed good of the nation. Nazism also promoted eugenics, leading to the persecution and extermination of those deemed undesirable. This overview of political ideologies and economic systems offers a broad understanding of the diverse ways in which societies organize themselves, from conservatism's emphasis on tradition to progressivism's focus on reform, and from capitalism's market-driven economy to communism's vision of a classless society.